Curfew tees it up, scores! He's in, he scores! Oh my, Demina!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode of the Curfew Boys podcast, Saturday, March 14th in the afternoon. And there's still some stupid snow outside. I'm getting fed up. I can't wait for this shit to be done. But that's not the main story for today. Big news coming out of the Montreal Canadiens dressing room. Pregame interview or press conference by Marty St Louis. Brendan Gallagher, a healthy scratch as the Montreal Canadiens face the San Jose Sharks tonight at the Bell Center. We are going to get on with that. I am Sammy with my cousin Chris. Hey now.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's good to see your face again, buddy. How you been? Are you enjoying the snow as much as I am?
It was pretty heavy, the snow this time around. So yeah, I'll be honest. I was in Arizona in February for work functions, and look, since I've been back, it's just been brutal going outside. And then we were given a little bit of hope with that warmer weather, and all that kind of started to come through. And then to see this is just like,
I'm done.
Not again.
Done. I've had enough.
I'm done. I'm not. Well, it always comes back. I have to give an example. One of my good friends, Raf, longtime friend, he had once upon a time shared a story about his parents, and again, Italian background, family being super important. But long story short, when his parents got married, they went down to Hawaii, and his father just turned around and said, like, why are we going back? Why are we going back to Montreal? And of course, his mom was like, well, what the hell? We have family there. We have to go back. But just the way that the story was told at the end of the day it always has me thinking, why are grandparents or great grandparents, or sometimes in this case, great grandparents have come here and settled here where it's so cold? Why couldn't they pick a destination like Florida? I think Anthony's down in Florida as we speak. Anyways, before this turns into a very long story, sometimes it's just a head scratcher that we have settled down here in Montreal. But we have the reason. It's because we have the best hockey team to ever exist, and that alone is the reason as to why we settled here and why we have that privilege between us both and all Habs fans across the nation.
Well, I thought you were gonna end the story how like Raf's parents like abandoned him and just stayed in Hawaii and said, "Screw it, we're not coming back."
Oh, this predates his existence because it was still their honeymoon, right? So he wasn't, he wasn't.
He was close to being abandoned. But,
he only came a few years later. So my friend Raf could have been Hawaiian. There you go.
Well,
Hawaiian Italian. There you go.
Yeah, that would be an interesting mixture. But anyways, look, guys, before we get into today's main topic, we're going to take just a brief couple of seconds to thank our current sponsors. We're going to start with my boy Mike from Mike's Barbecue Rub, who was at the golf exposition yesterday on Friday and even today, Saturday. Obviously, he's a Canadian company based out of this great city of Montreal that's full of snow, but he sells barbecue rubs, even if there is snow outside, sauces, and his kettle cooked chips. All of his products are proudly made and packaged in Canada. They could be used for anything on the barbecue, your meats, your fish, your vegetables. If it could be thrown on the grill, you definitely need to try his product, Mike's Barbecue Rub. He uses those same spices to season his kettle cooked chips, which are absolutely amazing. Follow his social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and you could visit his website, mikesbarbecuerub.com, for much more information. And as always, folks, never forget to rub your meat. This episode is also sponsored by Les Délices Lafrenière, some of the best pastries, cakes, cannolis in the Montreal area. And now the month of March, for our Italian paisanos out there, San Giuseppe holiday, you need to try their Zeppolis, especially if you sprinkle a bit of Nutella on them. Nutella is my version of Frank's Red Hot Sauce, but dessert edition. I literally put that shit on everything. But they got 6 locations, including Rosemere, Brossard, Saint Julie, Montreal, West Point Claire, and our hometown of St. Leonard. Visit their website, lesdeliceslafreniere.com, for more information. They got Instagram page for almost every location. They are simply delicious, simplement délicieux. And last but not least, Habs Cave, our boy Sunil with the very, very popular page, Habs Cave. Literally, a Habs fan's dream to have a Habs Cave, to have a man's cave like the Habs Cave. Content regarding Montreal Canadiens memorabilia from top to bottom. His basement is just full of it. And, last but not least, like, he's just an awesome human being, a great member of the Montreal Canadiens community and the community in general. So give our boy Sunil some love on Instagram and TikTok at Habs Cave. Chris, it's been quite a discussion about Brendan Gallagher and, not that his role within the team has been questioned, but his capability of keeping up with the game today, father time catching up, the game's getting faster, and the questions and discussions have been out there if he should take a couple of games off here and there. I think the natural reaction that some of us had was make him a healthy scratch as soon as they clinch, so he gets some night off. But someone like me forgot to take into account that there's quite a bit of back-to-back games coming up, a lot of games coming up towards the end of the season. But nonetheless, Brendan Gallagher, a healthy scratch tonight against the San Jose Sharks. The Canadiens obviously released their live YouTube video, live reactions of the players. We heard from Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Noah Dobson, and Jake Evans, and obviously head coach Marty St. Louis. You know what? I'm not surprised. I think it's a good decision, but you could also see in the expressions of the players that it's tough for them to not accept it, but you realize now, like, okay, we have a guy that brings in, night out, the heart and soul of this team that's not playing tonight. It's a bit of not so much a message, but it's a bit of a I'll use the word message for lack of a better term, but it's like, listen, you guys, you better bring your A game every night. But listen, the heart and soul is not on the lineup, so it's up to everybody to bring that type of game out tonight against the Sharks, against the young Sharks team. And we all know how the last time we played, how it ended. I think it's you actually mentioned this, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but you mentioned it's a sign of maturity from Marty having to make those tough decisions.
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna get there. Just allow me this detour. The name that comes up in mind right now is Wayne Gretzky.
Mm-hmm.
And why?
Jeez.
Because it's always that reminder that at the end of the day, hockey's a business. And it's a business of winning.
Mm-hmm.
And to bring it back very quickly, sometimes you have to make some pretty tough decisions. And nobody, absolutely nobody, is off limits for either transaction, for getting scratched, and more importantly, getting older. Now, with that being said, um, I'm going to hand this back to you after to talk about. It goes without saying, the respect and the love that everyone has, especially his teammates have, for the guy, for Brendan Gallagher himself. That's not something that's ever going to be put into question for as long as Montreal Canadiens fans exist. That of course doesn't even have to be made clear. It's just a simple fact. Um,
Yeah.
but talking about Marty making tough decisions, that's actually been one of my biggest criticisms regarding him. I still think he's got a pinch of work to do with Arbor Jacki, but that's a whole other story. This is about Brendan Gallagher, and I think there were certain nights that Brendan Gallagher was maybe a little bit behind the play, chasing the play. Obviously, I'll go as far as saying that the fact that this was an Olympic year did no favors because of the condensed schedules, because of the increased number of back-to-back games, like you mentioned. But nevertheless, I do think that this is going to be a net benefit for a guy like Brendan Gallagher to have some time off. Does it mean he's
Mhm.
never going to get back into the lineup? Absolutely not. They already said he'll be back in the lineup tomorrow.
Exactly.
So this is not the debate as to whether or not he still has his place on the roster. It's just he might need a little bit more of a recuperation time. And again, just to go back to that element of hard coaching decisions, Marty has made some absolutely brilliant decisions and has said some spectacular things that have either driven players behind the scenes and brought out the best in a lot of different guys. But again, going back to that specific criticism of him, there have been a number of moments where I felt, oof, that maybe that wasn't the right decision, Marty. Maybe, it's not easy and it's not going to flatter the guys that you love and appreciate most, but it has to be done. And I do think that this is one of the biggest tough decisions that Marty had to make,
Yep.
and I think he made it with grace. And I also do think it's kind of I'm going to say one other thing, maybe one other layer that I'd love, maybe you can build upon it, but it's 2 years in a row that Nick Suzuki goes up to management and begs for not I don't wanna say begs, but asks at the very least for them to keep the team intact. Now that comes at a cost, and again, it's a big ask on management, especially if they have plans to go forward. But these are one of the things, if you're gonna ask for that and management is gonna deliver, these are the type of concessions that you have to be able to accept. There are gonna be certain guys who are gonna be coming out of the lineups. Okay, you wanted everybody intact, you wanted everybody here. Alex Texier is gonna have to have nights out of the lineup. Brendan Gallagher is gonna have to have, nights out of the lineup, and it can't be the end of the world. You have to keep moving forward, and whoever's we've been talking about the whole play the hot hand with the goaltending situation. Well, it's gonna instill a little bit of competition amongst a group that truly respects and appreciates one another. So I think this is just going to be a net positive. And again, for a guy who's put his body on the line and suffered a lot of abuse physically and sadly,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is going to be a net positive for Brendan. So that's my rant.
Well, the one thing that makes me think of is that picture of him being all bloodied up in the Stanley Cup Finals against Tampa. I think that right there sums up the career of Brendan Gallagher with the Montreal Canadiens. Not that it's over. He's got 1 year left on his contract, but that's going to be a big question regarding Brendan Gallagher. It's what's going to happen once that contract comes to an end. He's got a no movement clause, so you can't send him anywhere without his permission. And it's the reality of athletes in any sport. It's just you can't beat father time. Games get faster. Young guys are pushing veterans out slowly, without neglecting the importance of having veterans. But this is a result of Marty having depth once again. We come back to how this has been a good problem for Marty. Yes, these tough decisions are gonna are gonna be made, and Marty's really starting to understand that now. Him being still a young coach, being a coach in a rebuild, this is part of the game. But this is the result of, like I said, depth on your team, and two, having a condensed schedule, like you mentioned. So I think this could benefit Brendan Gallagher, being one of the oldest members of this team. With the wear and tear on his body, he could be healthy, but there's still scar tissue somewhere on that body of his that it doesn't help the aging process. But he's going to come back strong against the Ducks Sunday, which I think could definitely. He doesn't hurt the team no matter what. Him being on a fourth line role with Philip Danault and Josh Anderson, like I like that line since they've been put together. The role is simply, you know, play defensively if you can and keep the puck in the offensive zone for as long as you can, even if you don't create scoring chances. Pucks in deep, battle against the wall, against the boards, and try to keep that puck in play for your line. So it is what it is. It's tough. Marty, I think Marty said it. He didn't take it as good as Brendan Gallagher took it. Like Brendan Gallagher said, he took it as a pro, rightfully so. You're not going to expect anything less from Brendan Gallagher, but Marty says like he took it better than I did, and it just shows how much value he has to this team. Maybe on the ice in terms of heart and effort, you won't see it in the scoreboard or in the score sheet anymore, or as much as he used to bring. But that's not where he's at anymore. Where he's at is just providing energy and providing like just that sense of leadership. Jake Evans said it, like he's a great leader, he's a great teammate, and he's a great human being. And you want a guy like that in the dressing room. You want a guy like that on the bench. Look, he's at a point now where he's playing 8 minutes a night and he takes it gracefully. He doesn't complain about it. You'll never hear a peep out of him. Just the way a guy like him, a forward, undersized at 5'8", like 6th, 7th round pick, if I'm not mistaken, like he's had to battle everything to stay, not only to make the NHL, but stay in the NHL, and he's done it. So like he, I think a player like that just knows that, like, listen, I've paid my dues. I'll continue to pay my dues, and you accept. I think you accept where you're at this point in your career, and look back and be like, I've done everything. I have everything. I have so much to be proud of leading up to this point. And then 1 year left, and we'll see where it goes. But like I think that's why he's taking this as a pro. It's just, if you look at, if he looks back on everything he's done up to this point, like there's nothing but feeling a sense of pride and proud and like and humbleness too.
Yeah, no, I think you said it so well. I I will add, it's the first time in his career, at least that's what I
Hmm.
read. It's the
Yeah.
first time in his career since his rookie season that he's
Mhm.
actually getting scratched. So
Yeah,
basically, since
exactly.
Brendan Gallagher has come in,
My
this is
God,
time
yeah.
number one. But there's something that you said that rings so true for the league on the whole, and that's why I find we're actually seeing players go to retirement younger, unless they're these freak of natures that take care of themselves. Like, I know we're talking about
Crosby
the
and
sort
Ovi.
of, yeah, well, Ovi, that's a whole other, that's just a
But
Russian
no,
machine. That guy's
Obi's just a freak of nature. I don't know if he takes care of his
yeah.
body, but he's just a freak of nature. Whereas Crosby does take care of himself and his body.
Well, I'm gonna give you the name. Like, I'm not even gonna stick within the sport of hockey, but I think the guy who impresses me the
I know
most,
what you're gonna say.
Cristiano
Yeah,
Ronaldo.
exactly.
Cristiano
Yeah,
Ronaldo is
yeah.
just like,
He's a
he
freak of nature.
outperforms
Both
20-year-olds at 40 years old, and
insane,
he's in
insane.
impeccable shape. So
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
there
yeah.
are there are professional athletes like that,
Hmm.
but the common trend within the NHL, look at like Macklin Celebrini, one of the best. Connor Bedard, one of the best. Should have made Team Canada. Going to say it again. You look at Ivan Demidov coming up. You look at how many young guys. Look at what Lane Hudson. Lane Hudson,
Hmm.
116 points, has the most assists within his first 150 games
For a
in the history
defenseman,
of the NHL.
which is
Just
insane,
another test. And
insane.
he's ours. It's incredible, and we're very lucky to have him. But the league is not the same as it was when we were growing up, and it definitely wasn't not the same league when our parents were growing up, and before that. The talent, the top tier talent is starting to emerge at 18, 19, 20 years old,
Hmm.
whereas guys were only starting to come through the minors most of the time at 24, 25 years old to start making a name for themselves in the league. And speed was not necessarily the same factor, if you will, that played into the games and the performance. And so Brendan Gallagher, like, uh, again, I would say 15, 20 years ago, Brendan Gallagher would still be very dominant, but it's just the direction and the way that this game is going at the top level. Yeah, it's just a reminder, and like I said, it's pretty. I would say for guys who are a little bit up there in age, it's hard to see, but at the same time, like, I don't think we've seen as much talent and skill in the NHL. Anyways, I'm straying away from the point of the reality of Brendan Gallagher coming out of the lineup, but nevertheless, it's just directly linked to that fact. You're not going to scratch a guy like Demidov. You're not going to scratch a guy like Kapanen. Whereas years ago, like, we had guys who got scratched and weren't playing in favor of like Dwight King, in favor of Steve Ott. That's not the case anymore. And
No,
with
it's
that,
it,
yeah.
I look at the roster. It's how do you take? It's tough because Cole Caulfield is coming back after being sick and missing out against the Senators. How do you take out Texier when he scored that goal that kind of jump started a bit of that comeback against the Senators? And whether we like it or not, the line of Jake Evans, Kirby Doc, and Zachary Bolduc are actually doing their jobs. They may not be putting much points up, but they create a lot of scoring chances together. They got chemistry between those three. I feel like Kirby Doc. I said this before when he was on the top line with Suzuki and Caulfield, but he doesn't bring that same element like Uri Slavkovsky, but he still brings something, and he's showing it. Kirby Doc is showing it on the third line. There's no pressure on him to be a top six guy anymore. There's no pressure on him to be a centerman. Okay, Bolduc is doing a lot of the hitting, I guess you could say, the heavy forward checking.
Grinding, if you will, yeah.
Evans is bringing the 200-foot style game, being a defensive centerman. And when Kirby Doc has the puck, like, he's protecting it. He's not. I don't think he's coughed the puck that much since being on the third line. I don't think he's created a lot of giveaways in the offensive zone since being on that line. He's a big body. He's protecting it, and if he's got no play, fuck, just put it in the corner. Put it in the corner. You're gonna have Evans and Budzik fighting for it, and a couple of times they've created scoring chances. So how do you break that lineup, right? And even though, yeah, I think I saw this. I saw the lineup. I completely forgot, but I don't know if Texier is going to be on the line with Anderson and Dano. I'm gonna go double check on Twitter, but it's tough, man. It's a tough decision. There's a couple of times I'm there. I'm like, well, do you take out Zachary Bolduc, but him too? Like, he's bringing an honest effort as well, and he's hitting. He's still big. Like, it's tough, man. It's tough. I wouldn't want to be in Marty's shoes for these decisions.
I don't want to put the carriage while you look up that info.
I got it right away. Okay, yeah. Patrick Fiolet from LDS. He's going to be on the line with Anderson and Dano. Sorry, go. We got our answer.
No problem. I don't want to put the cart before the horse in the sense of guaranteeing that we're going to make playoffs. Obviously, we're in a good position.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I'm very keen on seeing what Zachary Bonzuc is going to bring. I'm going to give the proper French Canadian pronunciation. Zachary Bonzuc. I'm really wondering what he's going to be doing in the playoffs. I have a very good feeling that that physical game that you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about is going to take another step forward. Like, he played a very edgy game with the St. Louis Blues when he made the playoffs last year. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play off or play out in the playoffs. I also, we talked about like Zach Budzik so much, but like, and maybe, how's his play and this and that. That's earlier on in the season, but like, it just hit me. We never talked about the notion of Zachary Budzik and the sophomore slump, maybe that he's going through. It's funny that didn't even come up. I don't even think once, but anyhow, to maybe wrap up the conversation and on the Brendan Gallagher notion and I guess two-parter. I would say part one, I'm curious to see. I think it's going to be Josh Anderson who's wearing the A. Perhaps that's already been put out, but I'd be curious if it's not Josh Anderson. Who are you? Like, I'm always interested in seeing these decisions and seeing who wears the A. I definitely think it's going to be Anderson, but
I
Sam,
think you're.
it's not Anderson.
I
Who
think
do you think?
If it's
If it
not
wasn't
Anderson,
who would you go with? Who do you think they would go with? I don't want you to have to appoint.
I would give the A to a veteran, and I think I have Jake Evans in mind.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. I have Jake Evans in mind. I think a lot of people, a lot of listeners and viewers are probably screaming Cole Caulfield right now.
Part of me is. I'm not gonna lie, Sam. A part of me is
Cole
screaming that,
Caulfield.
but like,
Can you throw in Can you throw in a Lane Hudson in there too? Sure. There's a lot of leaders on this team, and where do you think they all learned it from, right? But I think because you have Matheson wearing it, I still think it's put it to a forward. It's gonna. I think it'll come down to Anderson or Jake Evans. I could be wrong, but I'm going with my gut feel on that. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it on Cole Caulfield. You know what I mean? I wouldn't, and I'd be happy, of course. I'm trying to think. Okay, like obviously Brendan Gallagher is the heart and soul, but who else kind of brings a bit of that edge to their game? And I think of Josh Anderson. If it's not Josh Anderson, I think of Jake Evans just because recently he's really been playing well and putting himself on the line for this team, just like everybody else. But for some reason, he comes to mind.
So I'm not going to debate you. Like, I respect that opinion. I think it's a great it's a great guess. Your guess is as good as mine. Obviously, the Cole Caulfield, like I already kind of mentioned and blurted out. Yeah, there's a part of me that would like to see Cole wear the A. Kind of gives
Hmm.
Mike Camilleri vibes. Pure goal scorer, even better goal scorer.
Yeah, yeah,
Number
for sure.
13 wearing an A again, but I don't think
Wow.
that. Again, I think it's going to be Josh Anderson. If it's
Hmm.
not Josh Anderson, maybe Cole is in the mix, but
I
the
I
other
just
guy
thought
that
of
I have
somebody
is
else.
Caden Gooley. Caden Gooley is
Oh,
another guy that
yeah,
I can definitely
yeah.
see wearing the A.
Okay. Hmm. Again, I don't. I see that too. I mean, we've always said Caden Gooley is going to have an A on his jersey. It's just a matter of when. I didn't think it'd be this early. Again, I keep thinking veterans though, like because Suzuki represents the young leaders of this team, obviously with the C, but having veterans like Matheson and Gallagher, like if you even look before Matheson got it, it was Joel Edmondson that got it. So I feel like they might be sticking with that, call it a trend, if you will, or that mindset. I don't know which term to use exactly, but and again, if Caden Gooley is going to wear it the A tonight, I'd be freaking happy for him 1,000%. It's possible. It's possible. Like, there's no wrong answers though, because I feel like again, there's so many leaders on this team that deserve wearing a letter on their jersey, and even if they don't wear one, it doesn't make them less of a leader too.
But I need to hear because there was another name that popped into mind. I'm wondering if we're thinking on the same playing
Oh,
field,
I had
maybe
I
like
had
a
I had a Noah Dobson too in mind.
okay.
I thought Noah
Look, it
Dobson.
could be Noah Dobson. It could be
It,
Phil Dano. It could be any
maybe
number
not.
of players. And like I said, no,
Maybe,
no, no. I
maybe,
mean,
maybe.
Phil Dano was even wearing an A in Los Angeles
Yeah, that's true.
for
That's
quite a
true.
period of time. And
I thought of him, but I mean, again,
I
this is a good question.
I don't want to give it to a guy who's been away. Like, I'd rather see a Noah Dobson get it. I'd rather see a Caden Gooley get it. I'd rather see a
Yeah,
Jake Evans get it because of his time away from the team. But just to say
right,
there,
right.
it's a great the reason why I brought that question up, and it's you hit the nail on the head. It's just to say, look how many leaders, look
That's
how
right.
many people are readily available to step in and play that leadership role. And when I said there are two parts to what I wanted to bring to the table, well, it's just today and the decision to, especially with the decision to scratch Brendan Gallagher, it gives us that opportunity to kind of start
Oh, I
at
get
least
what you're saying.
seeing that transition. What
Hmm.
does the future look like? What
Hmm.
happens? Like, what about contract talks? What happens? They're big contracts that are going to be coming off the books
Yeah,
in Brendan Gallagher and Josh Anderson at the end of next season.
that's right.
And like, dare we dream, or I don't want to say dream because I'm not looking forward to these guys leaving, but dare we take a look at what the Montreal Canadiens team might look like at the expiry of certain contracts? Because I mean, this is a punch to the face. This is like a wake up call. This is a tough pill to swallow emotionally to say the future is coming, and
Yep.
these
Yep.
are some of the tough things that are going to be coming up. We're going to have to be saying goodbye to some of the guys that we love and have come to know so well.
Oh, 1,000%. I think this could be the first test for management to see this team, what it's like, uh, what it's going to look like without a Brendan Gallagher potentially. Now, we'll remind everybody he's got 1 year left. He's got a no movement clause, but Josh Anderson has 1 year left. Alex Newhook has 1 year left. Philip Danault has 1 year left too. And at the end of those seasons, um, Ivan Demidov and Oliver Kapanen are going to be restricted free agents. Now, the Canadiens are going to sign Ivan Demidov at the end of this season before the new CBA kicks in. So they're going to try to maximize the length that they could sign Ivan Demidov after his entry-level contract. Instead of 8 years, you could only sign him for 7, I think is the new rule. So they're going to try to sign him for 8 years just before the start of the new CBA. So that's not going to be a problem. They might do the same thing for Oliver Kapanen. We'll see, especially the rookie season he's having. But major decisions are coming, man. And, you look down the pipeline, it's like who could be the next heart and soul after Brendan Gallagher if Brendan Gallagher's time with the Canadiens is over at the end of next season. To me, I think of Florian Jacki. I think he's going to be that type of player kid that's just going to bring the energy. I'm not expecting offense out of Florian Jacki. I'm expecting just grinding it out, make the opposing players' lives, give them hell, basically. Give them hell, and you're a Jacki. The fans love that name. They love what it means. Like, give the opposing team some hell, man, on the fourth line. Checking, like, be in their face. If you have to drop the gloves, which I'm sure he will, because he's a Jacki. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is a test to see who could bring that edge. Is there somebody out there that's a free agent that can replace a Brendan Gallagher at the end of next season? There's still so many questions though. Like, imagine if it comes down to, let's say we're gonna re-sign Alex Newhook, a short-term deal, nothing too expensive because he still brings some speed and all that. What if it comes down to we could only bring one, Josh Anderson or Brendan Gallagher? Like, that's gonna be a shit situation to be in for Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, what if it does come down to that? That's tough,
Sam,
man. That's tough.
Sam, I don't think it ends there. Like, I
Mm,
actually
I
don't
don't think
think
so
that it
either.
even ends there. Like,
More,
because
there's more questions even after that one.
there are a lot more questions, and I think, again, unless somebody takes a really, really, really nice discount
Mm-hmm.
and is ready to sit out a lot of nights,
Mm-hmm.
I will say this much: I really don't think it ends there. I do think that at the end of all this, especially maybe not as much this season, but you can bet by the end of next season,
Yep.
there there are questions that are just going to be undeniable. Like Michael Hage, he'll be here. David Reinbacher will be here. Zarovsky at the end, like I said, not at the end of this season, at the end of next season and going into the year after that, Zarovsky will probably be knocking at the door as well.
Yep.
You have 3 guys who are definitely going to be taking roster spots, and their time, but they will have put in the time, they will have put in the reps, they'll be ready to go, and they're going to be contributing to the success of this team. I would bet, I'll happily put money on the table and bet with myself on that note. But just all that to say is, you know, names like Carrier are going to come up. Is Michael Hage kind of a younger and very similar player to that of Kirby Dach? What
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah.
if we're talking about, like I said, Carrier, Reinbacher, Kirby Dach, Michael Hage, Zarovsky, even like an Alex Newhook in a certain sense. The only thing I will say, I love Alex Newhook. I love his speed.
Yeah.
Just seems like a great personality. We actually had the chance to meet him at
That's true.
the Liam Foundation golf tournament. Super, super nice guy, like super
Hmm.
approachable. Nothing crazy. But I love Alex Newhook. But like, there are going to be decisions to be made. Montreal is going to have a huge amount of cap space,
Yeah.
particularly if they have some younger players. But what are the implications of that, Sam? Like, there's a whole number of conversations that could be had at that point in time.
Well, there's that, but there's also, is Kent Hughes going to be aiming at a free agent at the end of next season? I'm looking at the
I
list now, not at the end of this season, but
The
at the end.
list.
I'm looking at next season. So, Chris, McDavid's a free agent at the end of the 2027-28 season, not the 2026-27. But uh, there's a certain player called Nikita Kucherov who's going to be a free agent at the end of next season.
Oh
It's
Jesus!
never going to happen, but I would give, I'd give my left nut to have a Nikita Kucherov on the Montreal Canadiens. I'm just going ahead and say this. You can hate him all you want, and not you, Chris, but anybody else listening, hate him all you want. Nikita Kucherov is a top 3 player in the NHL. I'm just, and facts are facts. But I'm
I
looking at
hate
the,
that. I
I'm
hate that beer crushing drunk Russian who
yeah,
pissed
you
me
can
off
hate it
oh
all you
so much.
want, but
But but you
imagine
have Ivan
him.
Demidov and you have
Well,
Zarovsky. There's who's going to be a better mentor for those two guys.
listen, if Ivan Demidov is, I think Ivan Demidov could be not exactly like a Nikita Kucherov, but close to. And if that's the case, like, my goodness gracious, that's gonna be scary, scary, scary. But nonetheless, I digress here. But like, look, Kucherov, Cale Makar's a free agent, Quinn Hughes a free agent, DeBrincat, Ryan O'Reilly, he's gonna be a bit old, Mark Stone, Crosby, Drake Batherson, Nico Heischer, Pavel Zaka, Eric Carlson, Arturi Lekkinen. There's still a couple of guys. Look, anyways, I'm not going to go ahead and say we're going to be getting any of those guys. But at the same token, you never know, because I think around that time frame, the Canadiens now, they're going to be like, let's go. We're not going to just try to make the playoffs. We're going to try to win the cup. And
So
hopefully that attracts some people to come to Montreal for that.
so that's where I want to bring it back to this. Like, let's dare to dream
Mm-hmm.
at this point in time a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm staring at Puckpedia, basically
Yep.
the Montreal Canadiens
I was
salary
on that
cap, and I'm
website.
looking.
I was on that website looking at these the free agent list.
So as it stands, the Montreal Canadiens have about 148,000
Mm-hmm.
in cap space, so that's extremely tight. In 2026, 2027, we're looking just short of 13 million in
Mm-hmm.
cap space. Now, as you and I were discussing with contracts like Gallagher, like
Yeah.
Danault,
Yeah.
like Anderson, like
Yeah.
Cartier coming off, and don't get me wrong, there's one thing that's clearly not factored in here. There's also going to be Ivan Demidov, who's going to be getting a pay increase. There's going to be
Yeah.
Oliver Kapanen, who's going
Yeah.
to be getting a pay increase. So that this number that I'm about to mention is definitely not representative of what we have.
Right.
But currently, the projected cap space for 2027, 2028 is 54 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with all the increases in salary for the players, I would ballpark it at anywhere between 30 to 35 million dollars worth of cap space, and that's just because the cap is going up rather aggressively and
Yeah.
those contracts are coming up the books, and evidently Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton, the masterclass that they've done of signing, and the team as well. It has to go also back to the players who all took discounts on what they could be making, including Lane Hudson, who miraculously signed for under
Yeah.
9 million. All this to say is, when we mention these names like Kucherov and McDavid and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I think about McDavid, and this is where I'm taking it back to that theme of daring to dream. Connor McDavid left a lot of money on the table for the next 2 years to give the Edmonton Oilers the best opportunity to go get extra support, compete for the cup, and hopefully win the cup. Connor McDavid is a guy who absolutely wants to win before anything else. I think
Right.
that's going to be the one item that is really going to bother him. If he doesn't win, I think he's going to be, staring at that chessboard and saying, "Okay, how am I going to position myself to get myself in the best possible situation to win?"
Right.
And I think I'm seeing it objectively. I'm doing my best job as a Montreal Canadiens fan to say this objectively, because let's not forget up and coming teams like San Jose. Let's not forget teams
Anaheim.
that are up and coming like Anaheim
Yep.
as well, and both that we're facing off
Chicago.
this
You could
weekend against.
put Chicago in there too.
Chicago's there. You also have. I don't think it's going to be the same thing, but Detroit. I think Detroit is
Mm,
a little bit ahead, but I don't think
yeah.
that longevity is going to be there. So I say it like that. I don't think
Hmm.
Detroit is a threat. But if you want to talk about that cap space, and you want to talk about where various organizations are going, without Connor McDavid coming here to the Montreal Canadiens, I would go as far as to say I think it's feasible that the Montreal Canadiens bring as many as 2 cups home within the next decade, because of the contract situation and the talent and everything all put together. Now you add that fact that we'll have another 30 to 35 million dollars in cap space, and
Hmm.
all these guys are locked up long term. The notion of bringing in a Connor McDavid at $20 million, even though it's a very hefty price, is not off the table. It's not impossible. That's what I'm getting at. It is not impossible. You're still going to be having to think about signing other guys like Jacob Fowler
Yeah.
and other individuals, but we are in such a good position. We have so many rookies that are coming through the pipeline, sorry, that will occupy maybe the less veteran spots, the bottom 6 positions on this team. Am I crazy
Yeah.
for
Well, yeah.
inferring that it's a possibility?
You're crazy. Period. And I mean, no. Look, dare. First of all, the theme is dare to dream with the Curfew Boys. I don't think it's impossible, and I just think if the Edmonton Oilers continue to demonstrate their lack of understanding at how much they need a goaltender, and if they continue to fail their Stanley Cup runs, that's I think I could be wrong, but I think that's just going to push Connor McDavid out the door a lot easier than any of us in the hockey world can think, or any of us hockey fans could think. I think everybody in the hockey world, or at least in the NHL, sees and knows how special there's something brewing within this Montreal Canadiens team. And if we see it as fans, if hockey analysts see it, if hockey podcasts around the world see it, then
Delusional Toronto Maple Leafs fans can see it.
for sure other players, yeah, for sure other players in the NHL see it too. 1000%. If they see how Marty keeps growing as a coach, if they see and hear how respecting the player and his current situation is, the way Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon treat their players, the word gets out there. It's a small world. I could see how attractive it could be for a player like Connor McDavid to think about what's best for his career and his future and his legacy. That's a big key word, his legacy at trying to win a Stanley Cup. If at that point in time, dare we dream, there's enough cap room to sign him, and if he truly believes I could be that missing link you guys need to not just go to the Stanley Cup Finals, but to actually win it, it's definitely a possibility. There's gonna be 31 other teams looking at him too. I think there's going to be other teams that are a lot more attractive to him. I think another big question is: does Connor McDavid want to play for or stay in a Canadian market? The Edmonton Oilers are up there. The Toronto Maple Leafs are up there. The Montreal Canadiens are up there. Is he willing to do it? I think he could handle the pressure. I think he could still somewhat still be that player that he is now, even if he's going to be 2-3 years older, and depends. Dare we dream if we sign him? I feel like I got to use that term. Dare we dream if we do sign him, for how long and for how much? Blah 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 blah. I don't think it's impossible. I really don't. Anything is possible. I mean, hell, the Edmonton Oilers had to trade Wayne Gretzky at one point. So the thought of it is very attractive. It's very it's seductive. That's for sure. But at the end of the day, Chris, what I'm about to say is, what do we need exactly? Do we need one more elite top 6 talent? So I'll mention Connor McDavid. I'll mention Nikita Kucherov. Dare we dream? Or do we need somewhere on defense a little bit more? It depends what are going to be the needs of the Montreal Canadiens at that time. First of all, the most important thing is that the players we have now get that playoff experience, but they need to get that playoff experience past the first round. And then management and even Marty and the coaching staff are going to analyze, okay, well, what do we need to go to that next step? To me personally, as much as I love the rookies we have in the pipeline, I cannot stress the importance of having veteran leadership or veteran presence with experience, hopefully with winning experience, not just going to the cup finals. And Connor McDavid is the exception. Even though he didn't win, he's Connor McDavid. He went twice in a row now.
Conn Smythe, the winner.
Yeah. Well, exactly that. Like
runner-up.
the Connor McDavid is that type of veteran that did everything except winning, which is okay. That to me is not the difference maker between bringing him and between bringing somebody that won. But you cannot neglect the experience of bringing in someone that actually did win. And somebody was probably, when they did win, they were important to that team. Whether they're veterans now, they're in their mid to close to late 30s. You know, because look, Alex Newhook won, but he won as a rookie. We threw in the name, Habs fans, Robert Thomas. Robert Thomas won with St. Louis, but he was a rookie. You can't neglect that, but you got to remember their significant role within that team when they won. So,
were you one of the go-to guys that pushed the team over the line and got that cup win?
Pretty much. See, it's too bad Ryan O'Reilly, when he's a free agent, he's going to be a little older, and I don't know. Like, he's still a good player. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But Ryan O'Reilly was significant to the St. Louis Blues when they won. You know what I mean? Like, I'm throwing that as an example. I don't see Ryan O'Reilly being brought to Montreal when the time comes.
Sam,
but something like that.
Next trade deadline next season,
Yep.
if there's that possibility, like, everybody's going to be like, God damn it, not again. But I would bring a guy. You're mentioning O'Reilly, and I'm just saying, obviously, the guy. If you bring in if you bring in a Crosby, if he plans to ask the Pens, like, hey, I really want to go play a season or two with my childhood team.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
again, I do think that's where it becomes feasible that Pittsburgh goes like, okay, we're really not that good. Might as well get something. Don't want to see you walk. I also don't see Crosby like the type of person that would walk away. But I mean, the ultimate winner, I think, in this sport, that's the guy that I would still want to have. Call me delusional, call him too old, whatever. Like, I think he has to be thrown into the mix.
1,000%.
I also think he costs a little bit less than a Connor McDavid, and we would have that cap space to throw some interesting numbers at Sidney Crosby for a much shorter period of time. Anyways, all this to tell you is, like, it's gonna get very, very interesting. We got to enjoy the ride for this season, and we got to enjoy the ride for the entirety of next season. But especially trade deadline next season and off season,
it begins.
It really, like, not to be a stickler on words, but, like, I don't think it begins. I think that's where we enter the end game for decisions, roster decisions. Yes.
Okay, Doctor Strange.
I could hear the Avengers music going on, but like I could literally say that I think that's when we truly get into the end game of decisions for roster spots and what's the makeup of this team, what's the
Yeah,
roster look like
I think
when we're
next
going to
season
compete for the cup.
I think next season we're gonna start seeing the final pieces of this puzzle being in place and at least close to the final picture. And we're gonna get on this subject. It leads perfectly to the whole Jacob Fowler subject, and especially with the AHL deals that happened 24 hours ago, or at least on Friday afternoon. But yeah, because you got to throw in, you got to wait and see not just how Jacob Fowler pans out, but David Reinbacher, whose his name is thrown out there a lot lately. People want to see, and rightfully so. You got to wait for Michael Hage. Like those three guys are massive pieces to the future of this team. Yeah, you can mention Zorowski, who's going a bit of a slump in the KHL. That's okay. 18, 19 years old, long season. It's normal. Bryce Pickford, he's killing it in the WHL. But you got to manage your expectations and wait for him to be pro. Let him see what he could do at the pro level. Probably join the Laval Rocket towards the end of the season. So those Zorowski and Pickford, you got to chill with those two other names. But the top three are Fowler, Reinbacher, and Hage. And they're slowly making their mark. And this leads now to the whole Jacob Fowler topic, and especially Chris, Anthony and I discussed in the previous episode. Talk about tough decisions, man, but it's decisions that need to be made for the sake of the success and winning ways of this team. So I'm just going to bring up two pictures here. On Friday afternoon, the Canadiens signed Luke Mittelstadt to a 2-year entry level contract. Obviously, the first year, I think the first year is burnt, but he's joining the Laval Rocket since his college days are finally over with Minnesota. Minnesota, he's teammates with LJ Mooney. They lost. It's their playoffs now. They lost 1-game elimination. So also Laval is missing guys on defense due to injury. That was one news. And then I think it was like what, maybe an hour or two later, this news came out where they traded Riley Kidney to Ottawa's farm team, the Belleville Senators. They got Jake Chiasson and goaltender Hunter Shepard. Now, Chris, Hunter Shepard is a decent minor league goaltender. Back-to-back Calder Cup winner with the Hershey Bears. And with that news, he's going to back up Kakko Kakkonen for the Laval Rocket, who's been holding the fort quite a few times, was a true pro to Jacob Fowler as his backup in Laval. And when Fowler went up with the Canadiens for the first time, held the fort. When Fowler was sick, he held the fort. So Hunter Shepard is going to be Kakko Kakkonen's backup. That, to me, pretty much seals the deal and sends an even bigger message. Jacob Fowler isn't going anywhere, man. You can't send Jacob Fowler down when you have an AHL goalie who won twice and you have Kakko Kakkonen who's playing well. I don't see them sending Shepard to the East Coast to Trois-Rivières Lions.
They won't. They won't. And the big thing here, oh man, doesn't want to be. That's something that I just think out of respect to the guy the team is not going to do. But more and more people are starting to talk about the notion of Monty having played his last game here in Montreal. And now talking about Fowler, I think they're giving the opportunity to both Fowler and Dobish. I don't think they're favoring one or the other to make the claim for who's starting game one in the playoffs, should they make it. I don't think that's been decided yet.
No.
But can we talk, like, I know that you and Anthony spoke about it, so we don't have to get into it, but Jacob Fowler is just so poised, so calm, so fucking Carey Price-like in the net, at such a young age. He's meeting expectations and then some. I wouldn't even be surprised. Like, I'll say it like this: I would not be surprised to see Jacob Fowler in the net uh, come game one. And I was watching. I believe it was on RDS. I want to make sure. I'm hoping that I'm giving the right quote, but I think it was Martin Biron who was talking and saying it like, yeah, sure. Those Ken Dryden came in, no
Mhm.
experience, won a cup. Patrick Roy comes in, no experience in the playoffs, wins a cup. Antti Niemi for Chicago comes in, no playoff experience,
Yeah,
wins the
yeah,
cup. Cam
yeah.
Ward, no playoff experience, comes in, wins the cup in his
Yeah,
rookie season. Like,
but
I'm not.
jeez.
Let's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
deep breath, folks. Like, I'm.
Well, let me
Think
just quickly interrupt. Like, well, Ken Dryden, look who he had. Look at the
Yeah,
lineup he had.
okay. The
Patrick
dynasty of all dynasties, pretty
Patrick
much.
Waugh. Patrick Waugh. Look at the lineup he had. Okay, Anthony Niemi had one of the best teams ever to be assembled in the salary cap era, the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks.
With Dustin Bufflin playing forward on the
Forward.
fourth line.
Oh, like, you know what I mean?
Yo,
Like, let's. I get what you're saying, Chris, and I get what Martin Bidon, if it was Martin Bidon, but I remember hearing it. I forgot who. I don't know if it was from him too, but we gotta chill with that type of expectations. But at the same token, you never freaking know, man. But anyways, sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's just to say, like, you brought up the trade.
Hmm.
I think this is just going to solidify what's going on in Laval.
Yeah.
I don't foresee necessarily. Look, Kakinen had a great playoff run last
Went to
season,
the
and I think
finals last year. Yep, exactly.
I don't see him being overwhelmed. That's one. I do see him being very thankful for the opportunity.
Hmm.
I don't think that it hurts the Rockets' chances at progressing far down the line. Like,
Yep.
it gives them that opportunity to go what we've mentioned several times. We want them to win the Calder Cup or go as far as possible to
Yep.
get the young guys as much experience as possible. I
That's
don't
right.
think it hurts their chances. If you want to have the debate Fowler versus Kakinen, sure, fine. I think we know how that conversation goes, but don't get me wrong. He is not a bad Kakinen is not a bad goaltender, and he will give them a very good
Yep.
shot
I
at
agree.
going very far.
I agree.
And all signs are pointing to, look, if Jacob Fowler starts tomorrow, forget it.
Yeah.
I'd go as far as to say it's a 50-50
Hmm.
that we do not see Monty play another game for the Montreal Canadiens. I'm sorry
I
to say that, but
yeah. I think they're gonna ride the three goalie system again. Obviously,
right,
you can't send Monty anywhere unless you buy out his contract, which I don't think they'll do.
you send him down.
You
Do you
can't.
even consider,
You can't. You can't. You can't. You
or
can't send
you're
him.
talking about waiver claims, or are you talking about
No,
just fitting?
you can't. No, because he was not at the trade deadline. His name wasn't sent to Laval as an active roster member.
Okay.
Just a reminder. People like a lot of people forget it, and it's totally fine. Like, there's so many rules to try to remember based off the current CBA, but no, you can't send anybody down for one. The only way I see Monty getting games is when the Canadians clinch.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could see him getting games, and then maybe Marty starts doing the little three goalie rotation, give a couple of guys the night off. But I don't see Monty. So like tonight, Saturday night, Jakob Dobesh is getting a chance for revenge against the Sharks. I don't see that being the same thing Sunday night. Sam Montembeault getting revenge against the Ducks. I'll be shocked if Marty puts Montembeault against the Ducks Sunday night. I really will, and it's no disrespect to Sam Montembeault. I truly, truly mean this, not just as a personal level, but as a professional level, as a goalie. If you're calling up Jacob, yeah, if you're calling up Jacob Fowler and you don't plan on sending him back down because you got two AHL goalies that could hold a fort, you got to let him play. You cannot healthy scratch this kid for more than 2 games in a row. You can't. If Jacob Fowler is going to be the future, which we all know he is, he's got to play. And if he's going to be part of this team going forward, as far as the rebuild is concerned and growing with this team and learning how to play under pressure moments in Montreal, you got to let him play. That's what I think is going to happen. Like, look, I was all for keeping Jacob Fowler in the minors, less pressure, still in a good market, the best market in the minor leagues at least, and give him that experience. Let him go play in the playoffs with the boys down there, give them a good chance at winning. But I think he's so mentally strong to handle being up here when it's time to win, to clinch the playoffs. And now that you're in the playoffs, this is going to be your environment for a good chunk of your career. Why we drafted you and why you're going to be the guy to hold the net while the boys in front of you battle to score goals and to defend. You're part of that. This is why he's here. He's here exactly for that.
So
my mind has changed now. My mind, I completely flipped the switch. I went from no, keep him down there, it's good for him. No, now I'm like, no, he's here, make him fucking play.
Well, on that note, Sam, there are 18 games that are left.
Yeah.
By the end of this weekend, 16 games that are left. I'm just trying to. I know that there's this whole notion of rest your guys before they get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine. I'm on that page with you, kind of. But I do think that within the next 10 games, I'm going to count tonight's games evidently. So the 18, within the next 10 games, they're going to have to start leaning one side of the fence, whether it be Dobesh or whether it be Fowler.
Yeah.
And then I think you have like a 60-40 or 65-35 split as to who gets those last games to say, lock it in.
Yep.
You're starting. This is the plan. You're getting the reps. As long as you're not tired, you're going.
Yeah.
The other thing, just based off of what you said on a whole other note, if it just so happens to be Jacob Fowler that's starting game 1 in the playoffs, assuming that we make the playoffs, somebody has to pull the kid aside. I do think that he's got that mental fortitude that you're describing, but somebody has to pull him aside and say, listen, like grabbing by the jersey practically before he goes out there. Listen, we know that you're going to give it your all to win. We have no doubt, and I think you're going to give us a chance to win. The likelihood is that we don't make it all the way at a certain point, whether it be sooner, whether it be later. We are more likely than not to win the cup. This cannot break you.
Yeah.
You're going in and you're doing your absolute best. And the only thing that we want you to be able to reflect upon, evidently, other than little mistakes, little video reviews and stuff like that, the only thing that we want you, Jacob Fowler, to be able to reflect on come the offseason is, did you give it your best? Are you satisfied with the effort that you put in? Or have you learned something from this? Not a goalie, and that's the big difference. If we do a Carey Price, man, like there were so many things that young man had to live through. I think Carey Price died for Jacob Fowler to rise like a phoenix from those ashes and get the cup back to Montreal. And it's such a shame.
Oh, you know that Price is going to reach out to him many times.
He's going to reach out to him. But the big thing here is like Carey Price carried that whole fucking team or those additions of the Montreal Canadiens for so many years. It cannot, I found that, and it's not this management, and that's what gives me hope. It's not this management. It's there's nobody there to allow that to happen again, and that's just not the culture and and where the organization is trending. But they cannot let Jacob Fowler go to any dark place if he's going to be the guy for this year's playoffs at such a young age. Please, for the love of God, as Habs fans, as the organization, I don't think I have to say it for the organization, but as Habs fans, as an entire fan base, do not let this kid go to a dark place like I feel
Oh, I don't think. No,
we
it'll
allowed
never happen.
Kyrie to get to.
The kids are well surrounded now more than anything, and I think they're so tight knit. They keep each other accountable. They look after each other. I don't fear that happening. Not one bit, man. There you
That's
go.
fair, and I don't fear it as much. It's just like go the extra mile to put the
Yeah.
little bumpers, if you will, to put the little safety checks to make sure that it's like unfathomable, absolutely impossible, even though it pretty much
Hmm.
is impossible. Also, too, let's call it as it is. Um, Montreal finally learned how to score goals. So
Man, since
even if Jacob, well, that's the big thing. Even
yeah,
if Jacob
yeah.
Fowler ends up letting in 3, well, they're scoring on average 3.5, 4 goals a game.
Well, let's hope they carrying that goal streak tonight. You know, they only scored what 3 against the Senators, so let's hope they get back to that 5 goal scoring streak, I guess whatever you want to call it, and hopefully they don't let that many in. But Jacob Fowler, Jacob Dobish in tonight against the Sharks, and then we'll know soon enough tomorrow who plays against the Sharks. The Ducks are losing 2-0 to the Ottawa Senators. Pretty much game over at this point. So even without Rako Gudas, you know they're going to be coming hard against the Canadiens on Sunday. But that's pretty much all we have. Also, just a reminder, the Laval Rocket are playing at 5, so that's going to be interesting to watch. And Michael Hage's semifinal game against Penn State, I believe, today as well at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So that's it, man. That's it. Well, listen, thank you to our audience members for tuning in to this new episode. Please like and subscribe. It is absolutely free. Share this with your fellow Montreal Canadiens fans near far. Episodes available on audio platforms, Google Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any podcast platform. Follow the Curfew Boys on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, also known as X. And a big thank you to our sponsors, Mike's Barbecue Rub, Les Délices Lafrenière, and our boy Sunil from Habs Cave. Chris, enjoy the game tonight. There's a good chance we might be back live
Wow. Oh, I think
on
so.
YouTube.
I think
There's
so
a
too.
very, very good chance. You know, I think our
We got to get some
our
more of the
ladies.
boys in, though. We got to get some of the other boys in.
I gotta make sure the other ones, like, even if we tie them to a chair and put their computer screens on in front of them, we got to find a way. But yes, hopefully some of the other boys can join as well. Enjoy the game, folks. Chris, enjoy the game tonight. We will be back to discuss it, and hopefully we bring back those important W's, keep that streak going. See you guys probably later on tonight. Until then, bye now. Good night.